Peace. This your big brother Psych, and I'm back at you with another episode of Strategies of Manhood. This video today is inspired by a lot of feedback that I got from the last video that I posted on my channel. The last video that I posted was called The 6 Things That Women Admire in a Man. Now the thing is, the people talk to me not about the 6 things that they admire, that women admire in a man. It was the thing that I explained at the end of that video. At the end of that video, I explained the symbolism of the king's crown. And a lot of people asked me a lot of information about that. So I decided to make a video in itself dealing with the symbolism of man as king and what they're supposed to represent for a man. Anyway, for y'all that did not watch the video, you should go watch the video. I explained this, that if you're going to consider yourself a king, then you have to understand what a king represents. Think of it like this. What if we're going into this ballroom and somebody walk up and give you a notice, say, take this to the king. Then when we get into the room, you realize they never told you who the king was. So what do? You start thinking. You start looking for certain symbols or signs of kinghood. And one of the first things that you're probably going to look for is the person wearing the crown. Usually a king in ancient times, when you look at all those old movies, you used to see a king with a crown that was round. It was gold. It had points on the top of it, and it had jewels encrusted into the crown. Now, there was reason for this. This crown was a symbol. It wasn't just a symbol of wealth, but it was a symbol of what a king is supposed to represent to his kingdom. The crown is round and gold because it's symbolic of the sun, which is the same color and the same shape. The points on the top of the crown represented the rays of the sun. And the jewels in the crown represented knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. If you doubt that, then look at the book of Proverbs and see how many times knowledge, wisdom, and understanding is compared to jewels or precious metals. Look at, I think it's Proverbs chapter 3, verse 15. It says that knowledge is better than silver. Look at Proverbs chapter 20. I can't remember the verse exactly, but it compares it to jewels. So constantly, the jewels, you can look throughout all the Proverbs and you'll constantly see this comparison. Anyway, get back to the point. So why was a symbol of the sun placed on a man's head that was supposed to rule the kingdom? Because he is supposed to play the same position that the sun played for the solar system. The sun is the center of the solar system. It is the biggest thing in the solar system. It has the greatest mass, and therefore it has the greatest gravitational pull, and it keeps all the planets rotating around it. And that is where a king's kingdom is supposed to be. The sun's light shines up on every planet in the solar system. And for one particular planet, that's the right dimensions from the sun, 93 million miles to be exact, the planet Earth, it gives life to the planet Earth. So that tells you something about your position and where you're at in the kingdom as far as it goes to dealing with the king's knowledge, because that's what the sun's light represents. So let's get to some deeper points right quick before I build on the king's crown and how the king is supposed to play his position as the sun. A sun is formed from, and I don't want to get too deep into the science of this because I don't want to bore the hell out of y'all. But a sun essentially is formed from a nebula whose gravitational pull was so intense that it pulled it into itself and collapsed on itself and caused an explosion of high radiant heat, which allowed it to become the orb of gas and heat and light that it is now. A lot of that dust that came from that explosion, what created all the planets that you see rotating around the sun, those things was once parts of that sun before it had that explosion. But that mass is what gives it the ability to be the center of that solar system, that mass and that gravitational pull. We have another thing in our solar system that's huge, not almost as huge as the sun, but it's bigger than every other planet in the solar system, sometimes 5 to 10 times bigger, and that's the planet Jupiter. The planet Jupiter is a big gaseous planet. It's not even solid. It's a big gaseous planet. You know why? Because it was almost a sun. It's so big and so massive that it almost went through the same thing that our sun went through, and that's why it has so many moons around it. The planet Jupiter has 79 moons around it, but it didn't quite make it. It's big, but it's just a whole bunch of gas. And that's how some of these dudes are, who claim that they're kings, who claim that they're sons, that just didn't quite get there. But let me get back to my point. And just as the sun is the center of the solar system, a true king is the center of his kingdom. Everything in the kingdom is supposed to rotate on his rule, on his law, and on his knowledge. That's what his crown is supposed to represent. So his crown is not just a symbol of wealth. His crown is a symbol of knowledge. The only way you can consider yourself a king is to place a crown on your head, which means to make sure that your knowledge is wise, right, and exact. A true king is an authority, not an authoritarian, and there's a difference. An authoritarian is a police officer who has his gun in his billy club and he demands you to do what he tells you to do. Why? Because he has the force to make you do it. An authority is somebody whose conduct and whose knowledge is so wise, right, and exact that you automatically want to follow their lead because you believe that where they're taking you will lead you to someplace better than where you've been. So that's the difference between an authority and an authoritarian. So, and a king also, that's another term that we call a king. We call a king a ruler. Now think about what a ruler is. A ruler is not just a person who has control or authority over a society. A ruler is also a physical object that is used as a standard of measure. If you take any ruler anywhere on the planet and look at an inch is always the same distance. It's going to be right and exact every single time. You take a ruler anywhere on the planet and look up a foot is always going to be the same distance because a ruler has become a standard of measure. If you find a ruler that gives you a different inch than another ruler, then something's wrong with that ruler. It's no longer a standard. It's crooked. It's bent. It's been corrupted. And that's what a king is supposed to be. A king is supposed to be a ruler. He's supposed to be a standard of measurement, but not a measurement in the sense of an inch. He's supposed to be a standard of righteous conduct. See, a king's conduct, his behavior, the way he speaks, the way he moves and operates is supposed to be a standard for other men to follow. So if you are not allowing yourself to be a ruler, and if you are not allowing yourself to radiate as the sun, then you could never ever truly call yourself a king. There's another symbol. Let's go to a different king. Let's go to the pharaohs of ancient Kemet. Now, I called it ancient Kemet, and I got to do a little history lesson so I can make sure we have an understanding. The original name of the land that we call Egypt is Kemet. When the Greeks conquered Kemet, the chief god that was worshipped in Kemet was called Ptah. So the Greeks in their language called it Agipta, which means house of Ptah. And then that word was later Latinized into Egypt. But the original name was Kemet. And I like to always go back to the original, the origin of all. I like to go back to always to the original. So the original people of that land called their land Kemet. It was renamed by the foreigners that conquered and took over that land. So anyway, let's get back to Kemet. The pharaohs of ancient Kemet, they used to wear a headdress. They didn't wear the European crown that I just described. They wore a headdress that symbolized the king cobra. And then that headdress had a serpent coming out of the center of the forehead of that headdress. This had the same symbolism of that first crown that I just described. This crown represented the king cobra because the king cobra was a sun symbol. It was said that when the king cobra raised up and spread its neck in defense, that it symbolized that it resembled the sun, and that the serpent coming out of the center of the crown represented the spiritual awakening or the opening of the third eye. It was said that the spiritual energy moved up the spine like a serpent and then radiated from the center of the head, of the forehead, therefore giving a person spiritual insight. And this is what a king was supposed to have. See, the only way that you can truly rule, is if you learn how to manifest that keen insight, that keen ideal to share and give knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to other people. You cannot rule just because you're the biggest, or because you're the strongest, or because you're the loudest person in the room. You have to rule because your knowledge is wise, right, and exact. Another thing about the ancient pharaohs of ancient Kemet is that they were said to be the personification of the ideal of Ma'at. Now you might be saying, what is Ma'at? You done seen Ma'at and didn't know you saw Ma'at. Didn't even know what you was looking at. If you ever seen the tattoo under Rihanna's breast, that is the symbol of Ma'at. Matter of fact, I'm going to share it with y'all. I have it right here. This is Ma'at. This is Ma'at right here. This is the tattoo that's under Rihanna's breast. Now Ma'at represented the cosmic order of things to the ancient people of Kemet. It represented truth and justice. That's what she was. It was said Ma'at was usually had her eyes closed, or she usually had on glasses. She had feathers. She was a woman with feathers on her back, and she was usually balancing a scale, which was called a scale of Ma'at. It was said that in Judgment Day, your heart, which represented your intentions, your behavior, was placed on one side of the scale, and the feather of Ma'at, was placed on the other side of the scale. The feather of Ma'at represented truth, the 7 principles of Ma'at, which is truth, justice, propriety, harmony, balance, reciprocity, and order. Those are the 7 principles. I'm going to give a video just building on the 7 principles of Ma'at. And it was said that the king himself was that ideal incarnate. He was the human form of those principles. And keep in mind that the word principle means first. So he was that. That was his foundation. So if you consider yourself a king, then you have to look at yourself and ask yourself, am I walking in truth? Am I balanced? Do I have harmony? Am I just? Do I believe in reciprocity or manifest reciprocity? Am I proper? And do I have order? These are the things that you should be able to manifest in your behavior and in your conduct at all times, at no limited amount of time. Now, I'm going to be 100% honest. Everybody doesn't always represent the ideas of a king. Every man, just because you have a penis, or just because you have a certain height, or just because you have a certain level of wealth, does not mean you're a king. Some of you dudes are dukes. Some of y'all are just earls. Hell, some of y'all ain't made it that far. Some of y'all are just jokers. What we used to call local jokers, chilling with the local smokers. Some of y'all are just that. And then you look around and you ask yourself, why isn't my woman following my lead? Why doesn't my children look at me with a certain level of respect? See, the thing about a true king, he doesn't have to demand that or ask for it. When he enters a room, people know that there's something different about this guy. When he enters a room, I don't care. You could be sitting in a cell, and it's like you're sitting in a king's palace. You could be in a prisoner's wardrobe, and you're adorned like a king. Because you have learned, if you're a true king, you have learned the true jewels that you need to polish that will really manifest your kingship. And that true jewel is the jewel of your mind. That is the thing that will give you exactly what it is you need. I have one more symbol I'm going to give y'all, and then I'm going to cut this short because I still have to work out for the day. But you've heard this story come from the Arabian Nights. It's a metaphors and mythology from Arabic tales. But you've seen it. You didn't know what you were looking at. What's his name? Aladdin. Aladdin and his magic lamp. It was said that Aladdin, this little boy, he found a lamp. He rubbed and tried to clean this lamp. And the lamp, a genie came out of the lamp. Ping, and the genie granted him any wish that he wanted. This is all symbolism. This is all a metaphor. And when you properly understand what the ancient teachers were trying to tell you with this story, then maybe, just maybe, you'll discover your own magic lamp and you'll discover your own genie. Anyway, back then, they didn't have light bulbs like we have today. So they had lamps that had oil in them. And you could light the oil, and the oil, they would walk around with the lamp, and the lamp gave them light. Now keep in mind, light became a metaphor for knowledge. So when he found this lamp, it only represented that he found the light of his own mind, his own ability to be rational and reasonable. And when he said he polished the lamp, this is the process of study. When a man starts to realize the power of his mind, he starts to study, or he starts to polish his lamp. Sooner or later, after polishing it so long, the genie comes out of the lamp. Now the word genie, the root of the word genie or jinn is the word genius. That's what the word literally means. Look up a dictionary of etymology, and it'll tell you that the word genie comes from the word genius, which literally means a tutelary spirit, or the power of your own intellect. See, this whole story is just about a boy recognizing the power of his own mind and then bringing his own genius to life. And your own genius has the ability to grant you any wish that you desire. Nothing magical about it. Just you waking up the beauty of your own mind. And that's what a king is. That's what a king is about. And that's what you need to be if you really, really want to be a king. I'm going to drop a video detailing the 7 principles of Ma'at. and building on my art in a little bit of detail. I'm also going to give you probably the next video, the 7 roles that a man is expected to play in his lifetime. There are 7. There are 7. 7 is the number of God, which is a beautiful thing. So I want y'all to stay tuned and pay attention to the channel and be waiting on this. I'm probably going to drop it for y'all next week. If you like the information that was given in this video, I need you to subscribe. I need you to hit the like button. I need you to share the content. When you hit the subscribe, the like button, the bell icon is automatically gonna come up. So hit the bell icon so you can be notified whenever I drop a video. And I had to say this before I end. I said that I got a lot of feedback on the last video and on the symbolism of the crown. I didn't get it on my channel because people didn't leave comments. My channel is so young that most people that are subscribed to my channel either know me directly or indirectly. So they were leaving me texts or they were leaving me messages on Messenger. Leave comments on the channel because that's the whole purpose of the channel. The purpose of the channel is to create a dialogue on these ideas and these concepts. See, I'm not just going to be the only person that's going to give you knowledge. Maybe you can give it. Maybe you'll add a comment and build on these ideas a little bit deeper. Maybe you'll add a comment and correct me on a mistake that I may have made. Or maybe we'll create an open debate and then more information will get out. But leave the comments on the channel if you see something or hear something that you like or dislike. Leave a comment on the channel. And this is how we're going to help the channel grow. This is how we're going to build a channel. My whole purpose for creating strategies of manhood is to put out the information that will help a man elevate to his highest level. And it's not just for men. It's for women too, because I have a lot of women that watch the channel. It's for women as well, because you may hear something that you may want to put your son in front of the TV or in front of the phone and let your son look at it because you might feel like he needs that information, or your boyfriend or your husband or your baby dad or whoever the hell he is. But I want to build a channel and I want y'all to help me in this process. Peace.